Shorak.
Hi! Olokhai got mentioned a few times in the Sonkara video last week, so it felt appropriate to show you a little bit of what's going on there. Think of it as a bonus episode. Olokhai is in the northeastern corner of the known world, and tied with Namara for being the furthest away from Urkaya. The region has a bit of everything. Flatlands, beaches, mountains, caves, and the horrors hidden in the tunnels under them. One of those are the Houron, the twisted pale metal men. So, who are they? First, let's take a look at one of their main beasts. The cave bat fits into a similar archetype as the Malachite goat and Alathian roach. A medium-sized creature that isn't amazingly strong, but offers some kind of utility that makes it invaluable for that civilization, and, by extension, defines their identity. The goat and the roach produce milk. The bats make metal. Copper, sometimes tin, arsenic, almost anything that they can get their claws on. The Houron are defined by the way that they use this metal, and the bat is one of the very, very few creatures in the eastern wilderness that can produce it. The many critters of Olokhai contain trace amounts of metal, and the bats absorb and accumulate it into their bodies. They deposit it into their mane and claws, but every inch of their body is infused with metal. Like the goat, I envision them as generalist omnivores. In the wild, they travel in small packs, feeding on almost anything they come across. Well, anything smaller than them at least. I want them to reinforce the idea that the Houron aren't entirely civilized, a bit like the Kormagan, so their bats will be either tamed wild animals or only partially domesticated. Its design is obviously meant to evoke mole rats, a kind of visual shorthand to emphasize that it live in caves. I also kind of like the archetype of a hulking, almost gorilla-like bat monster that can somehow fly despite being obviously too heavy for it. I think an extra set of limbs would have hurt the readability there, so I decided to merge its front limbs into one. That also helps justify having enough fingers to knuckle walk and fly. I'm not sure yet, but I'm leaning towards making the fused arms one of the visual cues for the region. Olokhai is mainly a region of fish and birds, driving a few mammals that live there into hiding, at least during the day. Most of them will be members of the same family, similarly to northern Urkaya's many twin-tails. The bats and the Houron live in the many caves and coves of the coastline, as well as inside the large volcanic mountains that run along most of the region. Living underground, the critters need strong front limbs to tunnel around. These rending claws are coupled with their keen sense of smell and echolocation, ideal for navigating dark caverns or tracking prey at night, making this creature a complicated foe to fight if one is ever to find themselves exploring the tunnels where they rest and make home. Being bats, it's a no-brainer that they use echolocation. Sound-based attacks, too. That fits the primal element I want to give them, which, as an aside, puts them in the same niche the Garmians used to have way back in the day. The critters are spread out across the region, so it makes sense that there's quite a few variants out there. Depending on its environment, a bat can adapt to be a brawler, a scavenger, or else fit into almost any other niche. The color of their fur, their size, proportions, and the amount of metal they can produce can vary drastically. Early tunneler bats break down trees for their sap and fruit, while their lightweight relatives prefer to prey on eggs and live young. Their smallest relatives are almost indistinguishable from real-life bats. The different variants are still all part of the same species, and it's not out of the question for a pack to have different specialists in it, forming something similar to a hunting party. Some bats will also band together for a single hunt, rarely even forming a swarm, and scatter once they've all had their fill. Next, the bat engine. Drawing it went very different from how I usually work. The original design was made by Halex, and I drew over it. He envisioned them wearing heavy armor over their enemies, with metal parts grafted onto their limbs. I liked the way the guy was hunched over. The ramshackle outfit, general color scheme, and the two blades being positioned almost like a pair of scissor blades was also nice. I started by refining the textures to get a more accurate feel for what it would look like. It became apparent pretty fast that the red fur isn't doing it for me, especially with the context that this is a cave bat. It felt out of place. A more muted fur color also allowed the important parts to stand out. The red flush of the engine, the verdigris, and the yellow bronze blade. I struggled for a while with what kind of shape and texture I wanted the armor to have. I finally decided that rather than proper armor, I can just have it be this rough metal texture jutting right out of the fur, like scales or an exoskeleton. With that, the beast's identity was also cemented. This guy isn't a pushover, but he's not supposed to look super powerful either. A proper suit of armor would have overshadowed the engine, which is what the drawing is meant to showcase. Now, if I wanted to properly armor him up, the blade is already a good test case for what kind of colors I'd use. The smooth yellow metal contrasts nicely with the rough copper on the creature's back. However, the verdigris on the blade, together with the torn cloth and hunched over pose, help to reel design back in and remind you that this is an unwashed savage. Something I mentioned in the Wormbird video is designing in a vacuum. This design, being standalone, didn't really have a clearly defined backstory. I was getting a sense of the culture as a whole, and I didn't really have an existing base to fall back on yet. Designing the beast was a breeze in comparison, but that's because I basically had to solve the entire puzzle while working on the engine. Hi there. If you haven't noticed, this is Comeau speaking. Jort is currently unable to record his own voice for the time being, so I'm switching in for him.